What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Dawkins on Duke. I'm your host, Andre Dawkins. This week we got my guy, my little brother, Sean Kelly, coming on the podcast. Had a real great conversation with him. Talked about what it was like, growing up with Ryan, really great basketball player in high school, and him being recruited and what it was like for him, and then him going to Duke and watching games and things like that. And eventually coming in and following his footsteps at Duke, in a way. So hope you enjoy this first part of the conversation. We break it up into two parts because it was a really good long conversation. So we're gonna have two parts, and hope you enjoy it and come back next week for part two. But as always, make sure you go check us out on YouTube at the Field of 68. That's where we post the clips of all of our podcasts from all across the network. And make sure you're subscribing so you don't miss any content. And reach out to us on Twitter at the Field of 68 and at Dre_Dawkins. That's my personal Twitter. Let us know how we're doing. Let us know who you want to hear from next. And hope you enjoy this one, and we see you again next week. All right, this week we got my guy, one of my groomsmen in my wedding. Couldn't make us any closer, man. It's my brother, Sean Kelly. What's going on, man? Thanks for coming on.
Appreciate it. It's good to see you.
Yeah, man. Been a little bit.
Yeah.
So we always start the podcast with the same question, but you're kind of a unique guest, so I'm going to expand the question a little bit. So we always get your welcome to Duke moment, but I need three different welcome to Duke moments. I need your welcome to Duke moment as a student, your welcome to Duke moment as a manager, and your welcome to Duke moment as a player.
I'm glad you did that because I had two ready to roll. I didn't have a student one ready though, so we'll
putting you on the spot. Yeah, putting you on the spot on that one.
Student, probably just the first time that I was like in a freshman lecture where there was like just a general, I think it was like a psychology class, and I remember just having to figure out how to get there. So that was more like welcome to college, just like you're on your own, figure it out.
Yeah.
But then, I think there's great students at every school, but you quickly learn, like in study groups and things, that just people are, and I was a good student, but I was probably like in by the hair on my chin. And so being in some of those study groups and group projects, and people are just clicking on a really high level all the time.
Yeah.
And so not a specific class I kind of accidentally fell into a grad school class my senior year. The way the basketball schedule worked, I needed one for a graduation requirement. It was the only one I could take that fit the practice schedule. It was my senior year. So at that point I was used to, the expectations at Duke, but that grad school level was I remember getting the textbook on the first day. I still have it in storage, and it was like reading in another language. That was a welcome to Duke too.
Yeah.
As a manager, there's kind of a couple, having an older brother play on the team gave me a unique perspective early on. I wasn't there yet, but your countdown to craziness was, we weren't Duke fans growing up. Like we were from New York, so we weren't into the ACC and stuff. And so I didn't understand what a big deal Duke was. And I went to countdown, and I remember Ryan's song was Iron Man, and he came out to Iron Man, and the place went nuts. And that was my first experience, like full camera and understanding like what Duke was. So that was huge. I think as a manager, welcome to Duke, but also I tell the story all the time to people when they ask me like what coach was like. I remember being picked as a manager after applying the whole thing. You go through an interview process.
Yes. Yep.
They like give you a trial run. It's not like you don't just walk in.
No.
And I remember coach lined up all the new managers in the locker room before practice, and he introduced each one of us and said to you guys, and by you guys, the players at the time, basically said, they're a part of our team. Know everybody's name. I don't want anyone, yelling yo or anything like that. Like everyone needs to know each other's name. They're a huge part of what we're doing. And so that was my welcome to Duke basketball moment, where I was like, this thing is, when people talk about coach not missing anything. That was immediately I was ready to run through a brick wall.
Yeah. It's I don't mean to cut you off, but yeah, it is probably a unique thing that, you know, every year, you know, we get a new batch of managers in, but like you said, he introduces all of you guys. You guys are a part of our team. We know all your names, and it really, like, you guys really are a part of the team. And I'm sure you felt that, where, like, you know, we hang out off the court together. You know, we do things together. Like, we're actually friends. You guys actually are like our teammates to us. And I think that's probably unique to do. Maybe not only Duke. I'm sure there may be a couple other places where it's like that, but I doubt it's like that at most schools.
Yeah, I think part of it is when you sign up to be a manager at Duke, it's not like a part-time thing.
Mm-hmm.
If you can only make practice once a week, then you're not doing it.
Mm-hmm.
And I've had some friends that's the case, where you just make it when you can, and they just need bodies to rebound and things. But you're there for everything: highs,
Mm-hmm.
lows, late night arrivals, bus unloads, hard practices.
Freshman managing is tough, man, because you don't get to travel,
right,
and you get the late night. We're coming in at 3-4 a.m. from somewhere. You guys have to be there to unpack the buses. Obviously, basketball is a winter sport, so, you know, it can get pretty cold. And, you know, you guys get us having an attitude because we just lost to somebody, and so we're mad. Coaches are mad. You know, coach, you know, is notorious for coming back and going straight into film. So, you know, figuring that stuff out too. So yeah, freshman managing is no joke, man, because you don't get to travel. So you don't even get to go enjoy the road at all, but you get you still get all the work when we come back.
Yeah, people always ask me about the Austin River shot freshman year over at Carolina, and they asked me where I was, and I go, I was in the film room at Duke cutting the timeouts. We were all watching, and the freshmen were all watching the film room, and he hit the shot. And, you know, one of the jobs, you have to stop the recording and get it submitted to like the video group. And then we all ran out onto the quad, and then realized we got to get back. We got to pack the bus, and the whole campus had come out.
Everybody was over there. Yep.
And there was 4 of us, and we were trying to be like crowd control. It was ridiculous. It was awesome. But freshman year, you don't get all the perks.
Yeah. So then, welcome to Duke moment as a player.
Oof. I would say one, just coming out of Countdown is just.
Mm-hmm. What was your song?
I think I did Welcome. It was an Ex-Ambassadors. I think it's called Jungle, or I think it was Ex-Ambassador. I heard it on the speakers. My sister was playing volleyball in high school, and she wanted to come watch a Duke game. So we were at the Duke volleyball game that fall, and they had put in new speakers, and that song played.
Mm-hmm.
And it just sounded great. And I was like, perfect. I'm just going to go with this. I was so worried that whatever song I picked, it was going to be some commentary on who I was as a person. So I was just like, I'm going to pick this just loud, good song. But yeah, that one. And then I checked in early in the season, and I was not ready for that. Like what that felt like. I remember getting the call, and at halftime, if you're down at the end of the bench, you're starting to see which way the game's going to go. So you're like, I'm not going to warm up at halftime. Usually I'm just going to rebound, but this game warmed up, and I was like, we might get in. I think it was Presbyterian College maybe, but, and all my shots and warmups were short.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, all right, if you get in and you get it, and you let it fly,
don't leave it short.
Don't leave it short. I tell this story to kids I coach all the time now. And I caught it on the left wing deep. And I was like, don't miss it short. So I launched it. I did not take into consideration the fact that adrenaline of being in front of everybody was so high. So I let it go, and I looked and I was like, oh my gosh, this is the storybook. It's going in. I was like, it's online. It's perfect. airballed it long. I've never airballed a shot long, but I was on the wing, so it had like the perfect arc to just scoop between the rim and the backboard. And I was like, oh my gosh, I did miss it short.
Yeah, yeah. That's honestly impressive. To airball long from the wing is hard to do. So
it was. I was
kudos in a way.
I was inconsolable after the game, and I remember my dad came up to me after the game and just goes, "Everybody airball," and I'm thinking that might be the only shot I get all season, and it was. I never got another shot.
Oh man, that's a good one. That's a good one. So going back a little bit before Duke, growing up, obviously, if you're listening, you probably know who Sean's older brother is, Ryan Kelly. So he's huge, obviously. He's 6'10", 6'11". As you're growing up, are you thinking like, okay, like, at some point, my height is gonna kick in here and I'll hit this growth spurt and I'll be real tall too? Because your dad's tall. Then obviously Ryan is super tall. So I mean, were you just like, any day now, here we go, like height gods bless me?
I didn't ever think I was getting up to 6'11", because even Ryan's kind of an anomaly in our family. Dad's 6'7", but I'm built a lot more like my mom's side of the family.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm much like thicker in the chest, and I've got big legs. And so I didn't ever think I was getting, 6'10". I ended up being 6'3". I think I grew an inch in college. I think Ryan did too. We were both really late bloomers, just physically.
Yeah, I think Ryan did too. Yeah. And not to say you're obviously not a short person, but
oh yeah, no, I mean average person. I'm doing fine, but
you're dwarfing.
It's interesting to be the shortest male in the family at 6'3". But no, I was playing baseball in high school, and so there wasn't I didn't feel like a pressure to need to be tall to be a good baseball player.
Yeah, right. How much did you guys play against each other in sports coming up? Like, was there a sibling rivalry there?
When we had a little Tykes hoop, like way back,
mm-hmm.
we did a little bit, and he did the old big brother. You have to learn how to, play through contact, and looking back on a contact would be like a 2-hand shove as I'm running after the hoop. So things like that, and then video games. He got pretty serious with basketball a lot sooner than I was serious with anything.
Mm-hmm.
And so we would go play pickup a lot with our high school coach, Kevin Billerman, played at Duke, and his two sons, Sean played at West Point, and his son Quinn played football at NC Central and is grad assistant at Duke football now. We would play 2-on-2. Yeah. He I think is staying on through the transition. So
cool.
That's exciting. But I hope I'm not giving a scoop there.
Breaking news. Heard it here first.
But so we would play 2-on-2 all the time, and then Aaron would play with us, our little sister, and we just go 3-on-2. And those games got really heated. But once Ryan was in high school and playing AAU and like really serious about it, we weren't messing around as much.
Yeah. So you mentioned you played baseball. Did you play anything else coming
up? Tried cross country for 1 year.
Oh, geez.
That was a one-stop shop. Hated it. Tried football 1 year. I kid you not. When I talk about being physically a late bloomer, I had a coach me in middle school baseball too. I've tried JV football. He pulled me in the locker room one day and he said, "Sean, you don't like to hit. You don't like to get hit. Where would you like me to play you?" I said, "Coach, I think we have an understanding." So football was 1 year. And then after that, I was baseball. I got pretty serious about baseball kind of in 9th and 10th grade. And from then on, I actually played it year round.
Yeah. What position you play?
Started as catcher and then moved to first base. Because actually one of the reasons was because I was tall on our team. And so having a little more range. So mostly first base. I could play outfield. I wasn't very fast, but I could get a good read on the ball. And unfortunately couldn't hit.
That's important.
Didn't piece that part together.
So when did you kind of start to understand like Ryan's pretty good at this basketball thing?
That's a good question. So he played in a tournament in Vegas. I mean, like I kind of knew he was starting to get attention. I think he hadn't gotten like an ACC offer yet, but like Davidson had started paying attention. We went to Vegas as a family, and we didn't do a lot of AAU tournaments as a family. In fact, like my dad planned trips for the kid. Like we went to other stuff while he was playing his games, but he played with John Wall in AAU. And they went super far in that tournament. And I don't know if they got to the final, but like it was John's coming out party and Ryan alongside it. And so I remember people started talking a lot more about Ryan, and like offers suddenly were coming, and like schools, we were like, they weren't even on our radar as a place he'd go. I think that was I can't remember if that was his sophomore or junior year, but that was when it was like, all right. And like he made varsity as a 9th grader, which never happened at our school. So there was like some signs, but you didn't know physically where he was going to end up.
Yeah.
And then that tournament, they went off, and then it seemed like from then on, it was pretty serious.
Yeah. What is, from a sibling's perspective, what is that like as he's getting, a lot of attention and recruiting, and you're like, this coach is calling him and that coach is calling him and this coach is, around or coming to practice. And then, he's going to McDonald's game. Is that like, I don't know, like, what is it like for you? Is it weird? Is it like, he's just Ryan, why is he on TV and stuff like that?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, the number one thing you feel is proud, because I mean, you're the big brother, that's hero, I mean, that's why I was a manager. I just wanted to hang out with him. And so definitely that, but then I also started to see like, once he was a Duke signee, like we would go to pick up a video game at the store, and like someone would take a picture with him. And I do like distinctly remember the feeling of like not knowing I'm not supposed to be in the picture. and just sort of being like, can you take the picture, or can you just sort of like be out of the way? And so I remember sort of in high school feeling that, and that continued when he was on the Lakers. When I lived in LA, we'd be out doing something. It was like, all right, if you could just step to the side.
If you could move, please, thanks.
So I remember feeling that, but the only time we ever had conflict, and it wasn't a jealousy thing, but he got so much gear at all these events, like McDonald's, Jordan Brand. And I stole some gear. I'll call it what it was. I stole it right out of his closet. And he found out. And we had differing opinions on, whether he should share a little more gear than he was. But we resolved that. None of his gear fit me anyway.
Yeah, I was getting ready to say, was he getting like 3-4 XL? So how are you wearing that?
But the sweatbands were a hot commodity at the time for baseball.
Yeah. So once he commits to Duke and goes to Duke, was it like a done deal for you? You're like, I'm gonna go to Duke too, or was part of you like, shoot, I got to go to Carolina for just for the sibling rivalry aspect of it?
I mean, I looked at Carolina, but just because in-state tuition is a lot friendlier.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
But no, I was still trying to play baseball. So I didn't play varsity basketball my junior and senior years. I was all baseball, other than I tried out junior year after not coming to any off-season workouts. And quickly, Coach Billerman let me know that you sort of had to come to workouts to make the team. No, I was trying to play baseball in college, and that would have been Division III. So like I went and visited the Coast Guard Academy. I applied to a little school called Belmont Abbey in Charlotte, because I went to their baseball camp and was hoping like as a walk-on, I could play baseball. And then State, Carolina, Elon, Wake Forest, local schools. I knew I want to stay close to home. And then in Duke was, in our school, we had college counseling, and they would give you like you reach school and a safety school, and they talk you through all that. Duke was the reach school. And so I don't think I ever vocalized wanting to go there, because I didn't want to be disappointed. So I did early decision, which is binding at Duke, so that I wanted to just find out either way. I was like, if it's a no, I'd rather just know sooner so I can
Mm-hmm.
just move past it. So obviously it ended up being a happy day, but it did not feel like a sure thing at all.
That's interesting because, you know, as players, it's not, you know, our process, well, as scholarship players, our process is like so much different, you know, in terms of like applying to college than just like students. So, you know, like for me, as it's never, you know, it's never like oh man, I don't know, you know, I don't know if I'm going to get in or not because,
Right.
you know, we go through a different process. So what is that day? Did you know like that day it was coming? And what are your emotions? Did you do a big thing where everybody was around a computer? Like
Yeah.
what was that day like?
So I couldn't think about anything else. I don't know. We didn't have school. It was like right over winter break because it just went out for this class. And one of the coolest things you can do is Duke puts out a bunch of videos of people receiving the news, like that their family records them. It's awesome. So I called my parents and I had a buddy and we went to the gym in the morning and I told him, I think I called my parents. I was like, I'm just going to look it up on my phone in the car alone. Like, I don't want to be like around everybody, like really worried if it didn't go well. I didn't want to like everyone see my reaction. And,
Yeah.
And my parents were like, that's not an option. Come home. So, and you know, my parents, it was like, all right, coming home.
Oh yeah.
And so we were sitting around the computer. I didn't have a laptop, I don't think, at the time. So it was like, you know, the family home computer.
Desktop,
so in the office. And it was just me and my parents, I think. I think Ryan was at school and I don't know where Erin was. She might have been there. But so yeah, I mean, it was a lot of celebration and exciting. And then Ryan took us out to Wad Duke on food points.
Hey.
So it was a celebration, but yeah, it wasn't. I didn't feel like it was. It was a stressful day. It was a really stressful day.
I can imagine. So once you got there, did Duke feel familiar because you had been, you know, you go in a bunch of games, you know, to watch Ryan for 2 years because you got there our junior year, right? Yeah. So did you feel familiar? Were you still kind of like, or, you know, was the school side like, this is completely different? I don't know what's going on.
Yeah, I didn't feel very comfortable. I mean, I didn't feel any more comfortable than any other freshman.
Yeah.
You know, I was like, I didn't know where I was going. I'm trying to talk to people on the bus. I was playing pickup and Brody every day, trying to make friends. Like my whole friend network came through pickup and Brody. So no, I didn't feel comfortable. I mean, I had gone a couple games and things like that, but you got to like figure out the campus for yourself. And I think I visited with you and Ryan your freshman year one night. And that was like that was the most of the school experience I got. And it was like, we picked up food and went back to the dorm. It was pretty tame.
Yeah. Ryan didn't do a whole lot freshman year. It's mostly basketball in dorm room.
But back when you guys had the triple, I don't think that's the setup anymore.
No, that was a lot, man. The triple was a lot. 3 guys in one room, especially as freshmen. I wouldn't recommend it.
Oh yeah, it was all new to me. It was all new to me. My dorm was literally, I don't know if you remember where Brody was, because y'all probably wouldn't have spent a ton of time in there, I don't think. But
it was like down at the bottom of the hill, right?
Yeah, it was. And if people don't know that's watching, that's where the freshmen. It's a fitness center. There's 3 courts, weights and stuff like that. And so it was literally like you could throw a rock from my dorm room to Brody. So I would just walk over. We played. I mean, we had a crew that played every day. And that was my social circle.
So speaking of being social, got a little story. This PG-13-ish, I guess.
Right.
You remember the story, so I'll kind of set the stage. Ryan and I had our own apartment our junior year, which Sean frequented. So Ryan and I were both of age, 21. I'll preface with that. And so, we decided to indulge in a few adult beverages and
off season.
Yeah, off season, a couple of adult beverages, and we actually wanted to go see a movie. Actually, Casey was with us too. Another manager, and
I remember the movie.
Yeah, and so we wanted to go to the movies, but obviously we had a couple of drinks, so we weren't going to drive, even though the movie theater was like a half mile away. But still, we were being responsible. So we had this bright idea. Brian's little brother was on campus with his car and a freshman. And so, hey, why doesn't he be our designated driver? So we call Sean up, and I don't know what did we tell you? How did we get you over there?
You convinced me we were going to go out, and you didn't tell me that you guys had been participating in fun. I thought I was just getting invited to the movies. That was not the case.
So yeah,
like, oh yeah, I'll come hang out. Let's go see a movie.
Yeah, so we prayed upon his him being a freshman and probably
for as many nights,
not knowing a ton of people, and he gets to hang out with big bros. So
and this was pre Uber. This was like for those that don't, like you couldn't in taxis.
Yeah,
in Durham, I mean, maybe.
Yeah. Well, I don't know about calling a taxi in Durham. So,
but yeah, it was a fair exchange for the number of oatmeal pies and snacks that I ate at your house that year. I probably owed you a couple miles.
Yeah, that is true. That was like the nice thing because being roommates with Ryan, obviously you guys are in Raleigh, so like sophomore year. Doreen was coming down. She would get his laundry and then she'd be like, "You want me to do yours too?" And like, the first couple of times I'm like, "No, I didn't really know her." Then eventually I'm like, "Yeah, you can do my laundry too." So it was nice, man. Weekly, you get your laundry washed, dried, folded, brought back. She bring back snacks.
Oh yeah.
And then especially junior year, once we got our apartment, snacks were full. My mom lived in Durham too, so she was filling stuff up. It was great.
Being close to home, it can be a blessing and a curse. I ate a lot of family Sunday dinners back at the house.
But it's nice. It's nice because you save a couple food points.
Oh yeah.
And those are important, man. Especially freshman year. I ran out freshman year, so I was eating PB&Js in the locker room for a while.
Yeah, by my senior year, the food options in the locker room had grown tremendously because the NCAA changed the rule after the whole pizza. I can't remember who made the comment at the NCAA tournament about
Shabazz
not having the money. Yeah, Shabazz. He said couldn't buy pizza, and so the next year it was like everything changed. So
it was crazy. The year after I left, man, y'all got unlimited food because we had. I think we had bread, peanut butter and jellies. We had like water and juice. And I don't know if we had
power bars.
Gatorade
bars.
Yeah, and Gatorade bars. I think that was pretty much it. Like we didn't have anything else. Now, I go in there now and they got like cereal, fruit snacks, mozzarella sticks, fridge full of stuff, freezer full of stuff.
Oh yeah.
Smoothie stuff. I'm like, man, y'all are spoiled, man.
But you could eat all that for how much we were running.
You can eat whatever you want. Yeah, no. Yeah, I try to stay out of the locker room now because I know I'm gonna walk out with too much mess. Before we continue our conversation, let me tell you guys a little bit about our partners over at BetRiver Sportsbook. If you haven't signed up with BetRivers yet, now's the time because they are offering a $250 match bonus for your first deposit. But what sets them apart is that they require just one playthrough to turn your bonus into cash money. With their new Rush Pay instant approval, withdrawing your winnings is safer, more secure, and more reliable. With basketball season in full swing, get in on the action by going to betrivers.com today or by downloading the BetRivers iOS app. Must be 21 years or older. Gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER. So what led you to like wanting to be a manager, being on the manager side for the team?
I was playing pickup in Brody with my roommate, my freshman year roommate. His name's Ian McKiernan. He was a manager as well, and had worked in the office. So I had an office job. I used to answer the phone at the basketball office. That was one of like my work study things. I had interned with LA my senior
Yeah,
year of high
okay.
school.
Well.
And so I was doing that to make money. And Ian and I were doing that. And so we saw a flyer in the gym. That was one of the ways that they would get the word out. And we were talking about it. And I was like, this seems pretty cool. And I'll never forget, I called Ryan and I was like, I think I'm going to do this if it's not weird for you.
Mm-hmm.
And he was like, you can go for it. But he goes, if I was you, I wouldn't. And I was like, oh, okay. I was like, why? And he goes, you're giving up some part of your college experience.
Yeah.
Like you're getting something. Obviously, like
Mm-hmm.
it was, I wouldn't trade it for the world, but he was just, he understood the time commitment. Whereas I'm just sort of like, oh no, I'll just go do it. It'll be fun.
Mm-hmm.
But it becomes the center of your college experience. And he wasn't saying that's bad, but he was just saying like, before you go for it, make sure that you're cool with that.
Yeah. It's a similar time commitment to us, honestly. Like, I mean, you guys get there before we do, stay a little after. I mean, it's a lot. I mean, obviously you don't have to run and lift weights and stuff, but the time commitment is serious, man. Because someone's there for film. Someone's always there for film. Someone, all of y'all there for practice. You guys do games.
Got to pick up with the coaches.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Pick up with the coaches. You got to deal with CC, talking a bunch of shit to you for an hour. So
he gave me a new nickname during my time.
Oh, yeah. Ebot. Old Ebot. So as a manager, and you obviously coming from a unique perspective with having an older brother on the team, was it like being a manager on the court, with your towel draped over your shoulder, and Ryan's getting chewed out by coach in the middle of practice?
It brought us a lot closer, I'd say, honestly, than when we were in high school. In high school, I wasn't playing basketball. He was dating his now wife. I was like freshman, like not socially adept. And so when I got there, I think it brought us closer because suddenly like he didn't have to explain hard days.
Mm-hmm.
So like you guys have a hard practice, get chewed out, lose a tough game. It's like I could just sit at the apartment and we don't have to say anything about it, but he knows I know.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it brought us closer together. I mean, I'm never going to say that I thought coach was wrong, but you obviously are like, wait a sec now.
Yeah.
But it's not like it's degrading stuff. It's just you want to protect, but no, it was occasionally hard. There were a couple, you guys had it. I mean, we had in my 4 years at Duke, my first and third year, we lost in the first round.
Mm-hmm.
And so it was like, it wasn't all rainbows and butterflies my first few years. And so I saw I saw it be hard. I saw us lose and win big games, but also lose hard games. And so I think it brought us closer together. But yeah, occasionally it was a little tricky. Or to see him hurt, he got hurt a few times.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
That was really hard. Seeing him drop that, I think it was Clemson. I remember being like, something's wrong.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. What was his last game was Louisville in the NCAA tournament, Elite Eight. What was that like in the post game? Like what were your emotions? Like, how do you talk to him after the game, knowing that's his last college game?
Yeah, it was sad. He was, I hope this isn't a scoop at this point, but his foot was broken.
Yeah. His foot was still jacked up.
And he held off surgery until after the season and there was a lot going on. And so it was sadness about that too. Like that you didn't feel like you were 100% to finish. Like, I think he came back for the crazy Miami game.
Yep.
Then we played like Virginia Tech at home or something like that for senior night. And then it was tournament. And like he went off for Miami, but then he wasn't like his normal self. Like that was 100% adrenaline game, but he like hadn't practiced in months. And so it was weird just knowing that he couldn't contribute the way he probably would have been able to if he was healthy. So that was hard, but it was also on like NBA. Like I mean, he had to get surgery, but then it was like he's in Chicago interviewing.
Yeah.
And he like, there's almost no rest. It's just like, now you do the next thing. And he won, you guys won freshman year. So he got to experience it. I think he would have loved to experience it having a more prominent role. But,
yeah, for sure.
But it was sad, but it was also just like, all right, now you get ready for the NBA.
Yeah. What was the task that you hated the most as a manager? What was, Sean, you got to do this. And you're like, I really don't want to do this.
I didn't like film. I had a really tough time being in the film room. And some of that was like ego. I was convinced like I needed to be on the court in case they needed help with the drill. Like I was the guy, which was like in hindsight really stupid. Once I like, it was also me being afraid to mess up the film.
Mm-hmm.
Like you don't want to be the one where coach is trying to run something back in practice and you've like didn't hit record.
Mm-hmm.
So I didn't like film. But there's a really, not to get us too sidetracked, but I think this is a really cool story. At the end of my freshman year as a manager, we had like powwows to reflect on the year. And I go in and I'm like, all right, yeah, it was a good year. We lost in the first round, but I'll be back. And Ryan's senior year, and I'm looking forward to it. And summer's going to be fun or whatever. And my freshman co-managers wanted to meet with me first. I'm not thinking anything of it. We sit down and I'm on the other side of the table from them. So I'm like, oh, what's going on here? And they basically, I still get worked up thinking about it. They basically said like, hey, you didn't do enough. Like you didn't come to optional stuff.
Yeah.
Like you're always trying to like be on the court. Like you're not stepping up for the hardest jobs. They asked me to quit.
Wow.
Yeah, it was intense. Like and not straight up asked me to quit, but they're basically just like, if this is like how you plan to do this, like
then
we don't really want you. Yeah. And I remember I went home ripped. Like I went home to Raleigh. Because I'm also thinking like it's my brother's senior year. I'm not gonna like, what do you mean? I want to be there for all that. And I remember I went home to my mom, and like I don't use a lot of language in front of my mom, but I remember being like, this is bull and I can't believe they do this to me. And she let me get it all out. And I was like, I work hard. And then I'll never forget. She said, is it true? Like after you got all that out, is it true? And it was. And I remember just being like, that was a pivotal moment, not just in my time at Duke, but just like in life. Like you get criticized, yeah, it stinks, but is it true? And so I had to kind of come back and make that right, and not talk about making it right, but start doing more and being more available and be more willing and going to the optional shoot arounds, and someone needs a rebounder at night. And but that was, I think that tells you how Duke, like the standard doesn't just sit at the top. Like a group of freshman managers were like, no, you're not meeting it. And we know what it takes, and we all got to be on the same cadence, and you're not. Yeah. And that was really hard. But I work in a school now and coach, and I talk to kids like about that. I'll just say, look, at the end of the day, something was really hard. You got cut from a team. Something didn't go the way you wanted. You didn't do well on something, but ask yourself, is it true? And that was like, that was almost the end of my Duke experience with basketball. So I'm glad it wasn't. There was more story to go, but it was really intense. I'm grateful for those guys for doing it. We're still all obviously friends, but that was really hard.
Yeah, man. Being a manager is not being a manager at Duke is not a job for the faint of heart, man. You guys work hard, and we appreciate it, but it's rough, man, and it's really serious. It's taken extremely serious. So okay, most of the people listening are Duke fans and watch 2 games. So explain to us and it's been on ESPN a few times and stuff like that. Explain to us the manager sprint at halftime in Cameron.
Oh gosh. Oh man, so that's a moment of pride. So basically, like on game day, you have a whole operation. Like you've got people on the bench that all have very specific roles. You've got people that are on drinks or hydration. You've got people that are on a board for coach. Actually, I don't think a manager. I don't know if a manager does the board anymore. It used to be that a manager had the whiteboard, a chair for coach during timeouts, like everything you were ready. We were signaling when it was under, all the under timeouts, like everyone signaled each other. So the moment there's a dead ball. So it's just like very intense on game day. And we've got a locker room set up. And so there's a couple of like things that you need to do that you need to beat. You don't need to, but you're trying to beat the players to holding doors because the doors have key codes.
Yeah.
So like you don't want anyone hung up on the door trying to get into the locker room, especially if it's like an intense finish. You just want to be able to get the doors open so that everyone can just get in and start talking. Because like you probably remember, it's like depending on what's going on, there's some talking like immediately. We're good. We got to do this before it settles down for coach. And so it's getting the doors open. It's getting set up in the locker room for coach. So like if he wants a marker for board, like just making sure everything's ready to roll depending on what he needs and what you guys need. Because you guys are asking for stuff too at that time. So the idea is just get there first so that everything, and if something, sometimes this stuff pops up, like someone needs something. I need this. Can you grab that? I need a different pair of shoes.
Yeah.
And so like, you're just trying to, the sooner you're there, the more quickly you can react. So the sprint is once the gap closes, like in that corner of Cameron, maybe either players are in your way or once it starts to squeeze, it's really hard to get through. So the whole point is like, get there first and then set up, like be ready to roll. So that's the sprint.
Is that like you guys have I know you guys have meetings, you guys will meet after games and before games and stuff. Is that like something that's gone over in the pregame? Like, okay, Sean and Ian, you guys are baseline. As soon as halftime hits, you guys got to take off.
Yeah, but actually maybe I'm misremembering. I think the baseline guys will get doors, but only the upperclassmen managers were in the locker room. So it was like senior managers actually were in the meetings and stuff. And so, yes, there was you knew what you were doing. There were roles, you knew who was going where, you knew who was setting what up, you knew which assignment you had pregame. You knew who was up in the film room, because even at home games, you have a manager up in the film room, cutting the TV run. So like cutting out the commercials of the broadcast. So yeah, everyone has a role and you know what you're doing and you know where you're going, but you also have to be responsive.
Yeah. Like, what is that like? So the senior managers kind of run stuff. What is that? What are they telling you? If you're like, okay, Sean, you're on the baseline and at halftime you got to get to the locker room. Is it like you have to sprint, or is it just like a thing that you know?
You're told.
Oh,
you're told. It's not like mean, but it's just like it's serious. I mean, the whole thing is serious, and there's a lot of like people take a lot of pride in doing it well. And so there's like as much as there's a history of players and tradition, there's a history of managers. Like managers will come back and play pickup with us. There just is you got to hold the line. Like the standard shouldn't change.
Yeah.
One thing changed that drove me nuts. I'm very jealous of new managers. We had to wear dress shoes. On game day.
Yeah.
And when you had to run out on the court and wipe the sweat, you would scuff up the floor. They finally moved to everyone wearing just black Nikes. So the sprint is a little more comfortable.
Yeah. That's the other thing, man. Sprinting in dress shoes that's tough. Are you nervous? Are you nervous on the sprint? Are you like, I got to keep my knees up, like I can't face plant here? We're on ESPN or something.
I mean, you don't want to run into anybody, but I feel like the sprint became more of a thing after I was there, but maybe I just wasn't paying attention or like I didn't want to engage with it. But I feel like it became it got on ESPN and like blogs and stuff. But I don't remember it being like, I don't remember making fun of ourselves at the time. Like I remember being really serious.
Yeah. So as players, I remember moments, in film and stuff like that where, even in practice sometimes where it's like really hard not to start laughing, when something funny happens. Like Josh Harrison was really bad because I used to sit next to him all the time, and he would tap me with his leg and stuff. And so it'd be really hard not to laugh when like funny stuff happens. But obviously, like everything is super serious, especially in film, and really a lot on the court. So like we make eye contact when something funny happens. Like, did you ever have moments where like it was you're like about to lose it and you're like, no, I can't, because this will be really bad for me?
Yeah, I got one good one. I got a good story for you. This is a good one. We're playing at UVA. We had just won at Louisville, but before that we lost 2 games in a row. I think like at Notre Dame and against either State or Miami at home. So we're at UVA, and it's before they get rid of, is it JPJ was the old one, or is that the new one?
Yeah, John Ball was the old one, I think.
Or Reynolds, whatever it was. It's before they took down the old stadium. And so we're doing walkthrough in the old stadium. And UVA's offense is like, it's a rhythm.
Yeah.
So like it's a cycle that you're just running through.
It's so annoying. I hate it. I hate guarding.
And we were running scout. And so we were kind of walking through it. And Coach Shire was in it, and me and some other guys. And we were a little flat. Like the walkthrough just was a little flat. And you know when Coach knows like it's flat, and he makes sure to like, hey, it's like a volcano getting ready to go. So you're like, all right, we got to pick it up.
Yeah.
So they wanted us to start snapping the ball, like move through it, like don't walk, basically, like start going, not full speed like scrimmage, but make the defense think quickly.
Yeah.
So I catch it, and my job is to swing it over to the right wing where Coach Shire is supposed to be. And I'm trying to go fast. And so I'm kind of like throwing before I look. Like I know where it's going, but I'm not like turning my head and looking. I'm whipping it around pretty quickly. What I don't see is that Coach has stepped in to coach something in the passing lane. And he's got all his stuff, like his scout and stuff, in his hand. So his hands aren't free. So it's funny. That was not funny at the time. It was really, I thought I was like going to get kicked off the team. So I just throw it, and it just like, it doesn't hurt him. It's not like going that fast, but it just peg him in the arm, and he can't do anything. Like it just, his hands are full. So there's nothing he can do. So I'm like, in the moment, I'm like, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
What's going to happen?
Yeah.
And he just basically just goes, keep going, keep going, like just reset and go. So I'm thinking, oh my gosh, like I'm so happy he didn't like chew me out or be super angry. And I went up right after practice. I'm sorry, Coach. I just was trying to move quick. I didn't even see you walk in. And he goes, oh, you're fine. And then Quinn comes up to me as we're like walking out to the bus. And he's like, how could you do that? Like, and, Quinn. And like, so I start laughing. Not Coach is out of sight now. Like, Quinn, I just didn't even see him. Really, I just was. And he was like, don't laugh. So I thought he was coming in to joke with me. And he was like, don't laugh. It's not funny. And I was like, oh man. I was so scared that night. But yeah, that one was one where I was like, kind of being funny. And I was like, oh, this isn't funny.
Yeah.
The other is just zoning out. When I was a manager, those are long, there's some long practices. And if you're not in a drill and they don't need a ball for a while, or you didn't sleep, you did an all-nighter for a paper or something. And so one time I was just, you're holding the ball when Coach is talking. I'm just on the sideline, and they start calling for me. CC starts calling for me to come into the drill. It wasn't like just for a ball. It was to come play dummy defense or something. And so he's calling me Jack, because that was one of the things he used to call me when we played pickup. Because he would say, oh, you're just jacking it up. Like, yeah. So if when you're like half paying attention, if you hear your name, you snap.
Yeah, you'll snap back. Yeah.
But he was saying Jack. So I just was like, I was looking at the other side of the court. Like I was super out of it. And so they're going, Jack, Jack, Jack. And then Ryan was in the drill. And finally, Ryan runs over to me on the sideline and goes, Sean. And I was like, what? And like, when you realize that all that noise was about you
Yeah,
before,
yeah.
like
You're
that,
like,
I did.
oh, geez.
So again, like I wasn't laughing in the moment, but like after I was like, that's crazy. I just like completely just was looking people off for a while.
That was funny. I have a story in the same vein of like your story about throwing the ball at coach, which I think the statute of limitations on this is run out at this point. So we were in Jersey. We were practicing at the Nets facility, and I think I'm pretty sure it was my sophomore year, because I think that was the game we were going to play Butler in the Meadowlands. And so, practicing at the Nets facility, and something happens, and Josh gets upset. I think he messed up something or something. I think he got chewed out. Something happens, and he got upset. And like the way the Nets facility was, like there was a basket, and then there was space, and then there was a wall. And so he had the ball, and he threw it against the wall. Like he was upset, so he threw it against the wall. And so the basket is here, the wall is here, and most of us, are in front of the basket, under the basket on the baseline, and coach is, in here somewhere too. So he throws it against the wall this way, and it hits the wall, and I mean it's making a beeline for coach's head. And I don't even know if to this day if coach knows, like the ball almost hit him, but and we're like, it's like in slow motion. We're all watching, like we can all see the ball, and like we can't jump in front of it. I wasn't close enough to try and get in front of it and get the ball, but I mean it's making a beeline, and I mean it goes like right over his head, and he didn't even coach didn't even react. I don't know if he was doing something or whatever. And I look at Josh, I'm like, dude, you were this close from like this being this might have been your last Duke experience, man. I was like, dude, what are you doing? I think Nolan like grabbed him and was like, yo, you need to chill out, because that was very close.
That would have been a problem for everybody.
That would have been a bit of an issue for us. Like I said at the beginning of the podcast, this is only part one. We got another part coming next week, so make sure you tune in for that. Hope you enjoyed this part, and be on the lookout for the next one coming soon.